Hello everyone. Let me turn on my light here so you can see me. I hope you're all doing well. We're going to go ahead and get started. I know a lot of you were already logging in using the chat feature, saying hello. So hello to all of you out there across Europe. So great to see you. I do have a few friends from Remax Europe helping me out, so I also want to say hello to them, Marion, Will, and Steph. How this works, in case this is your first Level Up webinar, there are a few different ways that you can interact with us. You can either write us a message using the chat feature, which a lot of you have already figured out. If you want to write a message that everyone can see, be sure to write the message to all panelists and attendees. Otherwise, you're just going to be writing a message to Marion, Will, Steph, and I. While I'm doing the presentation, the webinar today, Will, Steph, and Marion are going to be helping to answer your questions and monitoring the chat in case you're having any technical difficulties. I know this is a question a lot of you have. Will you be getting a recording of this session? And the answer is yes. After the webinar is finished, you're going to be getting a recording and a quick follow-up email from us. So in case your internet goes out, in case you need to grab a coffee or take care of one of your kids who's at home because the school is canceled where you are, you won't miss anything. The recording will be sent to you. Now, when it comes to questions and interacting with us, I am going to be answering a few questions throughout the sessions because I want to make it as interactive as possible for you guys. So if you have a question that's relevant to a specific topic that I'm covering on that slide, feel free to just write it in the questions. Either will pop in and unmute himself, and we can answer the question right there, or he's going to be collecting questions that come up quite a lot. And we're also going to be having a Q&A towards the end of the session. So I guess that covers all of the housekeeping. If you aren't already following us on social media, be sure to do that. That way you can log in and register for the upcoming Level Up webinars. We have them on Mondays and Wednesdays. Next week is going to be a really great week. So be sure to take a look and see who we have coming up. We have some really great international speakers. Yeah, and also we're posting a lot of content just in general about ways you can continue to grow your business during COVID. Obviously, in every region, we have a little bit of a different situation at the moment, but we are putting a lot of effort into posting content that you can use, recycle, share with your network, so that way you can continue to grow your business. So be sure to check us out on social media as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me see if I can move this around. Beautiful. I got my screen set up. I got my coffee because I love my coffee. Beautiful. So we're all good. And hello to everybody who has been saying hello in the chats. Really great to see all of you. How many of you guys have already participated in a Level Up webinar? I want to know how many repeat offenders we have out there. I hope that you got a chance. Yeah, perfect. I hope that you all got a chance to attend some of the Level Up webinars that we've already done. In case you don't know me, my name is Hailey. I am a part of the business development team at Remax Europe. I'm also the key trainer from Remax Europe. You might have seen me hosting some of the other Level Up webinars, either with Richard Robbins and Michael Poltzler, or you might have seen me on stage before. I've visited a few regions and done a few presentations out in the field. And I also participated, I was hosting a few sessions at our convention in Mallorca, if any of you guys were there as well. So that's a little bit about me and how I fit into this whole amazing Remax network that we have. Hello, everyone who keeps joining. So great to see you. So what are we going to be talking about today? In today's session, we're going to be sharing best practices from all around Europe, ways that you can continue to stay productive and close during COVID. Of course, before we even get started and get into it, the most important thing to keep in mind is you please follow your local health and safety guidelines. Everywhere in Europe is a little different right now in terms of what you're permitted to do, and obviously depending on the stage of the infections in your region. So please be safe, keep you and your family safe, keep your clients safe. But that, of course, doesn't mean that you have to close up shop and stop doing business entirely. So in some regions, you might be allowed outside, and you might even be able to do in-person showings. But in other regions, you might only be allowed outside if you have special permission. So please keep your local health and safety guidelines in mind when we're going through today's session. And so with that said, we can go ahead and get started. Now, the first question that I'm sure you all have is, or you've thought of in the past few weeks is, can I still do business during COVID-19? And I want to tell you that's actually the wrong question to be asking. The right question to be asking is, how can I still do business during COVID-19? Because you can absolutely still close a deal during COVID-19. It's still possible to generate leads, hold listing presentations, and continue to grow your business. The main question is, what changes do you need to embrace in order to keep doing business in your market? Now, as I said before, everyone's market is slightly different, and in terms of the health and safety regulations, that will vary, but there are a few things that agents across all regions can embrace, and you can absolutely still keep doing business and growing. So we're going to be talking about how to stay productive in the new normal. A few of you might have already heard this phrase, the new normal. And the reason why I wanted to use that phrase when describing it is I don't think, and this is what I've been hearing from a lot of top performing agents and real estate coaches, a lot of the things that we're changing now as a result of COVID-19 are going to keep continuing and become common practice. So that's why we're just calling it the new normal. The first thing that we see is applicable across regions is that you should be embracing technology, right? You also need to educate consumers on the new normal and transform your sales transaction. So what does that mean? I'm sure you've been getting a lot of questions from your buyers and sellers and prospects about how the sales process is going to be impacted. Now more than ever, you need to be helping to educate the end consumer, your buyers and sellers, that they can still do business with you and stay safe and healthy. So we're going to be getting into that a lot during today's session. Another thing that is applicable across regions is that we need to work together, right? Agent cooperation is already something RE/MAX agents are really familiar with, but now we really need to work together to get the deals done. So we're also going to be talking about the ways that you can help support each other, promote each other's listings, and utilize the RE/MAX network and the power of the RE/MAX network to help each other get more deals done. Obviously, we need to be focusing on customer experience. Our customers now more than ever are probably feeling a bit unsure. How are the changes going to be impacting the sales process? How is it going to be impacting the value of my property? How is it going to be impacting my ability to get a loan or a mortgage? These are things that we need to be thinking about, and we need to be there for our clients and make sure that we're providing them with a safe and as flawless as possible customer experience during the sales transaction. And of course, during COVID-19, the sales process, it remains more or less the same. The main points is that we need to embrace technology, and where we would be meeting with each other in person, we need to be as much as possible meeting each other virtually like we're doing here. So we're going to be getting into all of that on a more deeper level today during our session. And hello, everybody who is just joining in. I'm watching you guys in the chats. You will be getting a recording of this presentation. If you want to ask a question, you can go ahead. I have my colleagues, Marion, Will, and Steph helping me out. So yeah, Perfect. So what does the new normal look like when it comes to lead generation? Probably one of the first things that you heard when COVID started sweeping across Europe was you need to work your database, you need to get on the phone, make those calls. And that's absolutely true. Now is the time to work your database, keep in touch with past clients, current clients, your sphere of influence. They all need support and they probably have a lot of questions when it comes to real estate. And you're in the perfect position to be their go-to real estate expert. But you can also think beyond real estate. In what ways can you support your community in general? What value can you provide, not only as their go-to real estate expert, but also just as a member of your community? I've been seeing in a lot of regions across Europe, agents have been getting out and active in their communities, obviously staying safe. I've seen in Israel, for example, and in Turkey, and I'm sure in many other regions, people have been delivering food to elderly, for example, because the elderly are particularly affected and they can't leave their homes. Showing up for your community outside of real estate is also a really great way to show people in your neighborhood that you are there for them, not just when it comes to real estate, but even beyond. Obviously, everything that you're doing, you need to be considering, are you adhering with local health and safety guidelines? Can you put the presentation bigger? I just got a question. Okay, sorry to interrupt myself here, but can all of you guys see the presentation? Do you see the presentation in a full screen? Yes, we can. You do. Okay, so it was just one person who was having trouble. Lewis, I think that was, I think that might just be on your screen, but you will be getting a recording. So in case you missed something, you can absolutely go ahead and rewatch it. He can enlarge it. Okay, Lewis, you can enlarge the presentation on your screen, I hope. Thank you to everyone who was helping troubleshoot Lewis's screen issues. I just want to make sure that I'm sharing the right screen with you guys. Let me see. Yeah, I think I'm sharing the right screen. I hope you guys can all see.
I can jump in here and provide the answer.
Hey, Will, yes.
Hi, yeah, this is Will. Hi, Remax community. If it was Lewis, he's on the top right of where in the pop-out window where it says the panelist's name, or in the top right of your window, there's a little gray box. If you hover over, it will say swap shared screen with video. I think this is what happened. You need to swap those around. Because I just did it. I just clicked that and my presentation went very small and Hailey went very big. That's the solution, I believe. Oh,
Beautiful.
hello everyone in the chat. Oh, he's found it.
Thank you so much, Will.
Cool.
And I wonder, actually, hide, because I think I might be able to manage it as well. No, I think it's okay. I think it should be okay. Yes, you can all change your screen settings in the window. The non-participant or the non-video, hide non-video participants. I just hid non-video participants. So maybe that's even a little bit better for you guys out there watching. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the presentation now that we've had a little technical, a little technical break. Okay, new normal lead generation. Obviously, working your database. What's another thing that you can do? Send video messages. This is also something that's not new, but maybe something that you have been a little hesitant to try out. Now is the time to embrace it. So I included a few apps that I know really work for me, and I've heard people have success with when it comes to shooting videos and sending video messages and posting them either on social media or sending them to clients or to your database. So there's InShot. That is an app that you can use to edit and splice and put together videos. Viva Video is really similar. That's the one that Michael Polzler is always using for his videos to speed them up. And then the teleprompter app. The teleprompter app, obviously, pros and cons. Sometimes if you're not doing it right, people can tell that you're reading from the teleprompter. But on the other hand, it really saves you a lot of time. And for people who are a little uncomfortable on video and shooting videos, the teleprompter app can be a great support just when you're getting started. Okay, what else can you do? Join local Facebook groups and work together with other local agents in your area. So if you guys aren't already using Facebook and working Facebook groups, I highly encourage you to do so. In most areas, there's already local area Facebook groups. It can be around any specific topic. It could be around, things to do with your kids during the summer. It could be around hiking. It can be around different hobbies or different things that are relevant for your neighborhood, such as real estate. So if there isn't a local real estate Facebook group, now is a chance for you to create one. And I would encourage you to invite other real estate agents to join the group and engage in conversation. Now, why? The reason is now more than ever, we need to be working together to match up buyers with the right property. And if we work together in service of the buyer and really act as we should, as representing our buyers with buyer representation, helping them navigate the process, this is going to be huge for RE/MAX agents. We need to be helping promote each other's properties and splitting the commission through agent cooperation. This is the secret formula that will help us win big during COVID-19. It's an opportunity we need to be taking advantage of. And in your regions, you should be getting soon, if you haven't received it already, some tips and tools that you can use to educate buyers on how they can continue to visit properties while staying safe, whether or not it could be a virtual showing or an in-person showing, but wearing a mask and gloves. There is absolutely ways to keep showing, marketing, and exposing properties while staying safe and adhering to local health guidelines. Use paid social media ads to boost your posts. So who joined last week's session where I talked about paid social media ads? I hope you joined. I see some people are raising their hand. Paid social media ads is a great opportunity. Obviously, if we look to North America and compare it to the real estate market here in Europe, the North American market is a little bit more developed and advanced. One area in particular that we can really jump ahead of the other real estate agencies across Europe is paid social media ads. This is probably something that you've heard Michael Polzler already talking about. It's really easy to get started. It's not as complicated as you might think, and it's not a huge investment in order to get results. So I would encourage you to give it a shot. If you are looking for that recording, I'm sure that we can help you out if you haven't received it or if you didn't tune in last week. The paid social media ads. And then, of course, you could host informative webinars for your audiences out there on social media and for members of your database. As I said before, your buyers and sellers in your area are probably having a lot of questions and they're looking for guidance and support. If you show yourself as the leader for real estate, the local market expert in your area, and you offer to host webinars, I want to view properties right now. I don't know how to do this. Is now a good time to buy? Can I sell my home during COVID-19? If you help educate the consumers, you will help them feel more safe in continuing to buy and sell property. It's up to you to make sure that you are educating the consumers in this regard. If you don't take the opportunity, they're only going to get more scared and nervous and unsure of themselves. But if they have a local expert who is there to guide them and show them the way, they're much more likely to feel safer. And you know how to do it in a way that keeps everybody safe and healthy according to your local guidelines. And also, this is something that I've heard from a lot of regions. You can consider reaching out to FSBOs. FSBOs, I know this isn't in every single market across Europe, but in a lot of our markets, the percentage of FSBOs that are currently on the market is pretty high. And now would be a good opportunity to get in touch with those FSBOs who you might have already reached out to and say, hey, I just wanted to see how it's going for you. If I can offer any support in terms of how to keep you safe and your buyer prospects safe, for example. We're there to offer support and guidance for them, and you might have a chance to convert them, whereas they might not have been so open to it before. So lead conversion. I already started talking about this a little bit when I was talking about the FISBOs, but following up, this is like the best way to convert. You'll see this in a lot of the Tom Ferry trainings and all of the trainings that I've been producing, and I'm sure on a local level as well. Following up consistently, providing value, staying top of mind, this is the best way to convert. And now more than ever, people are, they want to know, they're hungry for information. And if you can be there to provide it for them and to offer guidance and support, it's a great way to stay top of mind. So of course you can use Zoom, what we're using now, or you can use GoToMeeting to continue to follow up with your leads and your hot prospects. You can send video messages. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a live interaction. You can just pre-record a video message. For example, one of a FISBO client, because we were talking about FISBOs before, it could be someone who is trying to sell their home on their own, and you're trying to get in touch with them. You can just record a video and say, hey, Mr. Seller, it's so great to, I just wanted to check in with you, make sure that you're doing okay, that you and your family are safe, and I wanted to see if there's any way I can help or support you during this time. Again, a video message is much more impactful than just an email. So I really would encourage you to do that. And BombBomb is a great tool that basically just compresses the video. So it makes it really more easy and manageable to send via email. So it's a pretty simple tool. Okay, and then relevant and valuable articles and videos. So that's what I was talking about a little bit before. People are hungry for information. Make sure you are providing it with them. We use MailChimp at Remax Europe, and if you guys don't already have a newsletter tool, I can recommend it. It's pretty simple to set up, and then you can just go from there. And you can still set appointments, right? That was one of the first things that we were seeing a lot of agents were concerned about. I don't know if I should be setting appointments. I don't know how I should be setting appointments. Yes, you still definitely should be setting appointments. You can either do the appointments virtually, like we're doing right now via Zoom or GoToMeeting, or you can set the appointments for in-person a few weeks from now. One tool that Richard Robbins shared with us, which I was also already familiar with, it's an online scheduling tool. It's called Calendly. So you can just make your schedule available there, and people can book the appointments themselves when you're available. So now when you're working with a buyer versus a seller, the type of service they need is obviously a little different because they have different goals. However, there are some things that are relevant for both buyers and sellers. So first of all, qualifying the lead. Since setting up an in-person meeting might be difficult or limited in your area, you really want to make sure that you're properly qualifying those leads before you actually meet them in person. If you can, obviously you can qualify, but how can you qualify them? It's, well, pretty much the same way you would have qualified even before COVID. You can either qualify them on the phone or you can qualify them via video call. So make sure, just a few tips, make sure that you are, that you set up the video call if you're going to do it virtually in advance, and that they understand how the technology works. We have all had to learn pretty quickly how this technology works. But we have to keep in mind, not everybody is super familiar with it. So make sure to include a few simple steps so that they know how to log in and actually meet with you. Obviously, you want to be gathering as much information about the prospect as you can via video call. So when it comes to determining a property's value, there are obviously different ways you can go about it, and it will differ depending on your region. In some regions, you can't leave your house to do an actual property valuation. In other regions, you can. Gather as much information as you can about the property. in order to do a proper assessment in terms of the value. And ask your sellers to send you as much information as they can on the property. Ask them to take initial photos. Ask them to be honest about any imperfections or things that need to be repaired. They shouldn't be hiding that from you. And just ask them to be honest. There are a lot of things that you can do via Zoom call or video call. But if you don't feel that you can comfortably do a proper assessment on the value of a home via virtual video call, then that just might be something that you need to work on with the sellers. Obviously, the priority is making sure everybody feels safe and healthy and comfortable with the situation. But another question, can you host the listing presentation? Absolutely. You can absolutely host a listing presentation. If you can't meet with somebody in person based on your local regulations, then do it virtually. You can walk them through your PowerPoint or your presentation, whatever you would normally use. Maybe some of you use a printout. Instead, show it to them virtually and walk them through it that way. So in terms of buyer prospects, you absolutely need to be qualifying them, because setting up showings is going to be a little bit different. In some cases, it's going to be harder to set up in-person showings. So you really want to make sure that those buyer prospects are qualified, not just for motivation and for urgency, but also financial ability. So if they can get pre-approved for a loan, this is a great first step and shows you that they're really serious about buying. And of course, as the local real estate expert, you need to make sure that you can walk them through the mortgage process and point out if anything has changed in your area with regards to getting a mortgage because of COVID-19. So, and then of course, same thing, you would just prepare your CMA and your unique listing presentation. Of course, since you're not going to be there in person, you want to make sure your listing presentation is as persuasive as possible. Include lots of videos, be descriptive in what you're planning on doing for them, so that way your presentation is as persuasive as possible. Make sure you are dressed professionally and you have a nice looking background and that you have a quiet space before you start your listing presentation. Same thing goes for your buyer presentation. Perfect. So this is like getting into a little bit what I was just mentioning before. When you're having the listing presentation or a buyer presentation virtually, you need to make sure your presentation space is clean and quiet, and that you're in a place where you won't be disturbed. I know that some of you might have your kids at home right now. Make sure that you know, they don't come in and interrupt if possible, and be prepared. Make sure that you again that the people who you're hosting the presentation for understand how the technology is going to be working. And yeah, then you would just basically host the listing presentation as you normally would, sharing your pricing strategy, your unique marketing strategy for that particular property, and same goes with the buyer presentation. You're going to be walking them through specifically how you are in position to help them find the right property for them, help them see the properties. This one is really key during COVID, right? Because they might have a lot of questions, and you will probably be in a really great position to help them. And yeah, then basically you want to walk them through the listing agreement, which you can walk them through the paperwork by sharing your screen. And for a lot of people, the buyer representation agreement might be something, again, that you're not using very much in your network or in your area yet, but it's something that you should definitely be using. If you're not familiar with what buyer representation is and what a buyer agreement looks like, please let us know and ask your regions on it, because there is a ton of training out there specifically on how you can work with buyers, because this is a huge opportunity across Europe to work together with other agents in agent cooperation and provide buyers with the support that they're really looking for, asking for, and need. And of course, when you're done with the virtual meeting, you can go ahead and shoot a video following up. Oh, I forgot to click ahead. I'm following up and thanking them for their time. As I said, if you send somebody an email, it can be impactful, but if you send them a video message, including in your email, it's even more impactful. So, in terms of getting ready to host your first virtual listing presentation, obviously you need to prepare your listing presentation same way you would. You need to prepare your CMA and brief the sellers on how the listing presentation is going to go. If you help manage expectations from the very beginning so that they understand what they're in for, the presentation will be much more persuasive. So in terms of setting up the virtual meeting, you can either do that with GoToMeeting or Zoom, any number of providers, but make sure that you can share your screen. And to the best of your ability, try to make sure you have stable internet connection. So then you would just go ahead and log in, conduct your virtual listing presentation as you normally would, and then sign a new client. It is possible to get a new listing during COVID. It absolutely is. We've seen it across all the regions. And then you can use electronic signature technology to sign the listing agreement. If you're not familiar with what that is, one great example is DocuSign. But basically it's just technology that allows you to authenticate and sign legal documents, but with an electronic signature. So this is technology, for example, that already existed, but now in COVID times, we are kind of being forced to use it, like this was already something that would have been really beneficial for the sellers and the buyers, and just making the whole process more streamlined and more efficient. But now more than ever, we need to be offering this service to our buyers and sellers. And then, as I said before, you want to go ahead and send a follow-up video, because everyone loves getting a follow-up video, being thanked for their time, and then use this opportunity to remind your seller clients of the next steps. Then it comes to market exposure or property showings, depending on if you're working with seller clients or buyer clients. So here's maybe where a lot of things might be a little more different than in some of the other steps. So since in-person showings might not be possible in your region, making sure that you have professional level photography and videos of your listing is critical. We've seen a lot of you guys start to use 360-degree photography. And I know in some regions you've even been doing drone virtual tours, which is great. I am so impressed with the creativity that I've seen out there from you guys. I even saw last week in Turkey, I think it was, you guys hooked up a camera to a remote control car and we're doing a virtual tour with a remote control car. This is amazing. And this is the type of innovation that we need in order to keep doing business, right? We know 360-degree photography and drone videos were already, they already existed. But maybe we weren't so open to using them before. Now is the time. We need to adapt. We need to change. And I don't think that we're going to be going back after the restrictions ease up and after COVID is over, more or less over. People are still going to be expecting the same amazing photos. They still want to see drone listing videos. This is something that is, like I said, it's the new normal and things that we need to embrace and learn how to use in service of our clients. So making sure that you have also really good looking floor plans of your property is also really key, because people aren't going to be able to see the property in some regions, in some areas. So they really want to get an understanding of how the space feels and looks. There are a lot of technology out there for 3D floor plans, such as Matterport. So you can go ahead and use those. I'm sure your sellers will be really impressed, and it will help buyer prospects really get a feel for what it's like in the property if they can't actually go inside. And then I know that I've seen some of you guys have already hosted your first virtual open houses. So congratulations to all of you who have already done that. This is a great opportunity to generate buyer leads. Hosting a virtual open house, you can do it via Zoom, or you can do it via Facebook Live or Instagram Live. You can let people ask questions. You can make it fun, go around the home. Even though you guys can't all gather at the open house as you traditionally would, it would be the same, same steps as an open house would, like a mega open house strategy in person, except everything is done virtually instead. So of course, we want to keep you guys safe. You want to keep your clients safe. So if you are planning on doing in-person showings, make sure that you follow local health and safety guidelines, disinfect everything, wear masks if that's required, and gloves, etc. So I know that some of you who is already out there has hosted a virtual open house. I want to see if anyone who is following along has already done that. If not, get ready because we're going to walk through it in, I believe it's 4 simple steps. So set a date. That's pretty obvious. You have to coordinate, obviously, with the sellers on the date and time if the sellers are still living in the property. Make sure that they clean it up, that they declutter, that the property is looking really nice and cool. I see someone did their first live over Easter. Congratulations, that's great. So make sure that the sellers understand what their role is when it comes to showing their property, decluttering, making sure that it's as clean as it would be if people were coming and visiting in person. Oh yeah, and of course, set up your event registration. So I know there are a lot of different platforms that you can use to host the event. Facebook is just a really simple, easy one. You obviously want to be able to generate the leads and collect people's contact information if they have registered and signed up for your event. So make sure that you, whatever platform you're using, that you are able to do that. And of course, you have to generate some buzz, same as you would for a in-person open house. You need to promote your event and market it. So how can you do that? Shoot a video. You can shoot a video from your home if you're not allowed to leave the home, where you walk people through some of the features. Or if you can go out and visit the property, you can offer a sneak peek of some special features that you're looking forward to highlighting. And then go ahead and post on social media, send it to your database, and be sure to invite other local agents in your area because they might have a buyer who your property matches up with, and then that would be a great opportunity to work together to get the deal done. So step number 3, work out the kinks. You don't want to put all of this effort into setting up the event, promoting it, and creating all these great videos, and then you realize that you didn't really plan properly and you didn't understand how the technology works, or something isn't right. So make sure that you really walk through every step of how you want the event to go. Make sure that you plan out your route through the property. That might seem obvious, but how you walk through the space, make sure that it's highlighting the best features of the property, and be as descriptive as possible. Remember, people can't view the property in person, so the way you describe it is even more important now more than ever. And then step number 4, wrap up and follow up. So again, you're seeing, I really love these follow-up videos, but basically just thank everyone for their time and go ahead and post the videos to social media. Show people online, your social media audiences, that you are still open for business, you are still marketing your listings, and you're still active, and you're a resource that people can go to if they have any questions regarding real estate. And of course, follow up with any of the leads that you've generated. And then another question that we have a lot is how to host a showing. Now, obviously, this is going to be different depending on your health regulations and guidelines in your area. I know in some regions we have complete lockdown, so everything is going to be need to be done virtually. In other regions, we've been far less impacted. So please take everything that I'm saying here and adapt it to what your local health and guidelines are currently. So brief the seller. Same thing with the virtual open house. The seller needs to understand what their role is. Their role is to make sure the property is looking great, make sure it's decluttered, and to not be there. If you're showing a property, you don't want the sellers there because the buyers want to be able to envision themselves in the property. That means that they should probably consider removing any really personal items. They should be taking it as seriously as if it was an in-person showing, if it's a virtual showing. So how do you stay safe? So the seller leaves the house, as I was saying. So how do you stay safe? So you see in this little visual, we have the seller is handing the key over to the agent with a fishing pole. This was obviously, you don't need to do that, but please do consider how you want to hand off the key. If you're not using a lockbox, how you hand off the key to make sure that you disinfect it, and then go ahead and just disinfect all of the areas inside the home, the door handles, make sure you're wearing gloves, and make sure that you brief the buyers in advance too, because they're going to be having some expectations, and if you can get out ahead of them and manage those expectations so that they know how the virtual showing is going to work, it's going to be a much more smooth process for everybody involved. So then you want to go ahead and start your virtual showing same way as you would if you were doing it in person. If you're doing a virtual showing where you are in the property and the buyer is at their home, you can go ahead and use your phone. Make sure you're describing things as much as possible. Allow them to ask questions, go through the rooms slowly, take your time, because they're going to be, it's not the same obviously as if they were walking through themselves. And it might not be a bad idea if you do a little recording as you walk through, if you can do that, and then send it to them afterwards. Whenever I was looking at properties, that's something I always did. I always wanted to take videos myself as I was doing the showing. So make that offer available to your buyer clients as well. And remember to discuss obviously key selling points of the property, and also don't forget the surrounding areas. You are the local real estate expert, so you should know everything when it comes to local restaurants, shops, schools, parks. If your shops and restaurants are currently closed in your area, be sure to highlight that. That's something that normally buyers would have been able to go out and experience on their own, but now in some regions they can't. So make sure that you can do that for them. And of course, exactly, wrap up the virtual showing, thank them for their time, send a video message reminding them of next steps. And yes, that's how you can host your first virtual showing. Has anyone out there already hosted a virtual showing? I am curious. I've heard that you've done virtual open houses, but I want to know if any of you have already done virtual showings. So while you guys are writing back on that, we can move ahead to offers and negotiations. Now, a lot of times when it comes to offers, negotiations, and closing and signing, this was things that people traditionally had to do in person, but same goes for the signing the listing agreement. You can use technology that authenticates people's identity, and the document becomes a binding legal document, but it's done electronically, it's done virtually. There's a lot of different technology available. As I said, you can use DocuSign, There's a technology called Notarize, available in some markets. Do the research, ask your region, because I know a lot of regions are already working on this to make this available to you, because this is, again, this is one of those parts of the sales transaction that would probably be more impacted, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible. We just need to use the technology that was already there, already available. We're just sort of getting a kick in the butt to actually go ahead and start adapting to this new technology. So I bet that once you guys start using this, you're going to realize that it's really easy, really efficient, especially when it comes to saving you time driving around to different registrars and things like that. So you're probably going to want to keep using this technology even after COVID. So yeah, I just wanted to walk you through some of the technology that we have heard about that's available in some of our markets here in Europe. So there is a program called Dave that's used in Austria that accepts offers transparently and electronically. So you can also present the offers to your seller clients either through Zoom, or another tool that I've heard of is called Loom. So basically you just share your screen and you walk them through the different parts of the offer, pointing out pros and cons, etc. And then you can sign the offers electronically, using technology such as DocuSign. And then you can also go ahead and notarize contracts electronically. And if you can't do this because this technology isn't available in your market yet, make sure that you're forming relationships with local banks and notaries, so that way you know when they're open, if they have limited opening hours, and that they stay open for you and your clients, right? If you have relationships with these banks and local notaries, you're much more likely to be able to get your foot in the door to get the deal done. So how do you celebrate after closing activities? So, you know, historically before COVID, you might have been able to go over and in person hand over the bottle of champagne or the closing gift. Now, of course, you're going to send it via post instead. Again, you can still show up for your clients, but via video message, you know, thank them for their business, and, you know, just you can still congratulate them on the sale, just not in person. And be sure to use this opportunity to ask your clients for a video testimonial. I'm sure they're going to be impressed that you were able to continue working during COVID. And this is, if you get a video testimonial from them during this time, I'm sure it will go a long way in terms of helping you get new listings, because people will see it is possible. As long as you get creative, as long as you work with the technology, work together and with each other, and you have the right mindset that you can still do business during COVID. And of course, remember to stay in touch with your past clients on a regular basis. That was still the same from before. So during times of uncertainty, there's a great opportunity for leaders to emerge. And we have seen across the board, RE/MAX agents, broker owners have stepped up during this crisis, offering guidance and support, not just to each other, but to your clients and to your communities. And, you know, the question is, how can that's the question we asked in the beginning. How can I do business during COVID-19, right? Because the question isn't if you can do business, because the answer is yes. The question is, how can I do business? So if we sum it up, it's, first of all, you have to educate yourself on local health and safety guidelines. If you don't know what they are, you're not going to be doing your part in keeping yourself, your family, and your clients safe. And second, you need to go ahead and adapt your regular sales transaction to those guidelines using technology where available. That's what we've been talking about this whole webinar. Number 3, educate consumers so that they know that you can still help them with their real estate needs. A lot of consumers are unsure and uncertain if they can still buy and sell. It's up to you to educate them. And of course, work together in service of the client. So you can still be that person that offers opportunities for your clients, continues to show up for them, and thrives, while other people might close up shop because they're not sure how to keep doing business during COVID. Be the person that continues to work. Be the person that gets creative, uses the technology, educates the consumers, and you will see where other people might have said, oh, I'm not sure, I'll just take a vacation. If you use this opportunity to grow your business while other people are sleeping and closing up, you're going to get out much further ahead once everything settles down and business goes back, starts ramping up again. You want to make sure that you are in the best position possible to hit the ground running when things start getting back to normal. So I want you to remember, the world may be in a crisis, but you and your business don't have to be. It's all about how you guys think about this. If you only see all of the roadblocks out there, it's going to be a lot harder for you. If you see all of the opportunities and ways that you can navigate this and end out on top, it's going to be so much easier for you to grow your business during COVID. That's what I have for you guys today. I hope that what I said was meaningful, impactful, that you can use some of these tools and tips. I know a lot of you already are, so congratulations, great. Please share with me your success stories on social media, and go ahead and follow us on Remax Europe for additional level up webinars. Next week we have a really amazing week planned, so be sure to check it out. I'm going to have a little glass of water here and open it up for questions if we have any. Will, is there any questions out there that we can help answer today?
We've been answering a few.
Okay.
I can start off with a really easy one from Arba. How long will COVID last? Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. How long will COVID last? That's entirely different depending on your region, about how much you and your community have been impacted and what your government is deciding. I think that in terms of how you do business, as I said in the beginning, welcome to the new normal. You know, I don't think things are going to be going back completely to the way they were. Certain things are going to change permanently, and the faster that we embrace those changes, the faster we're going to see our businesses grow. So that would be my response.
Yeah, I totally agree. I believe that COVID will be defeated and go away, but the way that we do business will be like this for some time to come, indefinitely. So I think separating business from COVID is the first task. There was a lot of questions about the DocuSign. People may be wanting a little bit more information. Some people are not using it yet. It's as far as I know, it's a great tool, real time saver. If you give more information on the benefits of using that, where people can find it, just to.
Yes, I know that a lot of we have been working. Remax Europe has been working on a solution to get a package that's available to across Europe. So please reach out to your region and ask them if they're already working on a solution that works for you in your local market. Because we have so many agents across Europe, we do have quite a big negotiation chip when it comes to getting good deals. So I would encourage you to reach out to your regional head office and ask them if they're already working on a solution for you, because I would imagine they probably already are.
We also have one about generating leads. What strategies would you recommend to generate new leads during COVID-19 other than social media? A recruitment guide, maybe, for example.
Yeah. Well, was it a question from an agent perspective, like to generate seller and buyer leads?
Unfortunately, I don't have the pleasure of knowing Daniel Frost. I'm imagining he might be an agent.
I'll assume it was to generate buyer and seller leads.
Yeah.
So obviously we've been talking a lot about social media. But we can also talk about our database. I'm sure you've heard before, your network is your net worth. So I'm sure you have a list of contacts. You have their phone numbers. You hopefully have an email list. You can also start working your email list and your contact list, and that's not on social media. What else can you do? You can connect with other local real estate agents in the area and help each other out. Try to see if you have buyers from your buyer database that match properties, that match up with properties that they have, and vice versa. We need to start working together more than we did before. I know in some markets there was already a lot of agent cooperation happening, but now more than ever, we really need to work together in service of the customer. So those are a few things you can do to keep generating leads. But I would really encourage you to use social media. Who was the person that asked the question? Do you remember?
Daniel Frost.
Okay, so Daniel, if you're not already using social media, I really encourage you to do it. I encourage you to go out there and start doing paid social media ads, because now is a really great time to be on social media. I mean, if you weren't already. Everyone's checking their phone, looking for updates about coronavirus, about the real estate market, all things under the sun. And if you are showing up in people's Facebook feed, in their Instagram feed, you're going to stay top of mind. So.
If we have time for one more question, one came in from Maria Swain just now. What about the price, as many markets will be dropping? How do you deal with that question from the sellers and buyers? Prices in the markets, I think that's referring to.
Yeah, so obviously this is going to be different as different markets are going to be affected. I know that some regions are helping their more local networks get a better understanding of market predictions. It's up to you guys to have your fingers on the pulse of what's going on in terms of the property values. This is the #1 question that homeowners are going to have is, what's the value of my property? How is the coronavirus affecting that? We are seeing that in a lot of markets, the market is slowing down. But as I said, every market is different, and you guys are the local market experts. Be honest with your buyers and sellers. Put out information that you can stand by, that you know is accurate. But as I said, just because the market is slowing down doesn't mean that business has to stop. For example, now would be maybe when the market slows down, it might be a better time for investors. You need to figure out how you can work with the changes in the market and maybe focus on a different target group or market segment. Yeah, so that would be basically, to sum it all up. You need to do your research, make sure you understand what's happening in your market, and be honest and educate your buyers and sellers. Offer them information, offer them value, answer their questions. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, we have 2 other questions which I think are really good, which I think I'd like to answer. From Chantel Muscat, great name. How do you deal with the objection, let's wait till this is all over?
Well, from a buyer or seller perspective, I mean, let's wait till this is all over. That's the same objection that it always had. Like, that's the same, you would handle that in the same way that you would handle the objection, I want to think about it. So whatever it is, that you need to dig a little bit deeper. Why is it that they say they want to wait? Is it because they don't feel that you can show their property in a way that keeps them and the buyer safe? Is it because they don't think that you can properly expose their property and market it during this time? Is it because they are worried they won't get as good of a price as they normally would? This question, I just want to wait until it's over, is usually not the real objection that people have. So you need to figure out the reason underneath that question and figure out how you can educate them, so they understand why now is still an okay and great time to sell, and figure out how you can provide value to them so that they still want to close with you and do business with you.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's certainly about looking what's behind the objection rather than the objection on face value. One from Deckel Rats, which I think a lot of people will be interested in, is: do you have any recommendations for virtual tour apps in case people are taking their first? Doesn't necessarily have. I don't know what app is in there as a qualifier. Virtual tour products, or ways.
Yeah.
That
In terms of apps, I'm sure that there are, there was one that I heard from Remax Netherlands that allowed you to share your screen. I'm trying to think about that one. I would need to double check what that particular app was called. But when it comes to virtual tours, just in general, you can use a drone. There are 360-degree photography options out there, or you can just, if it's a showing, just make sure you have a strong internet connection and do WhatsApp video. You need to figure out the solution that works best for you. But in terms of specific apps, I would just encourage you to go ahead and type it in Google, type it in your app store on your phone, and see which solution works best for you, whether or not you have an Android or an iOS. So you need to see like what works best for you. Also languages, some apps are available in some languages, not other languages. So
absolutely, and I'd like to add to that as well. In my experience in marketing, is that Memento 360 is a very good one. It's very robust, and you can embed it on your website, and that's a great place to start. And Facebook now have a feature where you can have videos in the same way that you can have an image gallery, which is really cool. So you can click through in one gallery, one video to the next, which can give the impression that if you don't want to work with 360, you should. But if you haven't got the resources, Facebook now have really flexible options in how you can present your media.
that sounds amazing. Thanks so much, Will. That's like I didn't know about that with Facebook yet, but that's really cool. See, I think that there are a lot of solutions out there that already existed before COVID, that maybe we didn't know about because we didn't need to use them. And there are a lot more new tools being created now, specifically during COVID, because there's such a need for them. So I would encourage you to get out there and do some research, see which works best for you, given your market, given your specific needs. And yeah, I think that's it. That's all the time we have. Be sure to tune in next week. Next Monday, we have Jesse Peters getting socially savvy with us on Monday at 3 p.m. CEST, so an hour later than what it was for you in your time zone today. So that's going to be Monday. And then we have special guests on Tuesday, and then another special guest on Wednesday. Go check it out. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for the full Level Up webinar schedule. Be sure to register in advance. I have a feeling next week we might run out of places because these speakers are such huge names. So be sure to get in on it fast before all the spots are taken. And I hope that you enjoyed the webinar. Please, you can still continue to close during COVID. It's all about adapting to the technology available. Keep on providing value. Keep on providing excellent customer experience. Work together. We are in this. We got this. Remax is the strongest network across Europe, around the world. We got out in front of it, and we're going to thrive. While other people are unsure of themselves, not sure what they should do, we got your back. Your regional head office has your back. And yeah, I think that Remax is going to see this make lemonade out of lemons, as the saying goes. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you have a nice rest of the day. Please stay healthy. Please stay safe. Wishing you all the best to you and your family. And that's it. I'm signing off.